And that's with the Lobos of New Mexico taking on the Falcons of Air Force. 12.5. This thing's been bouncing back and forth. 12.5, 13, 12.5. 142.5 is the total. That seems to be creeping up here a little bit. Certainly some contrasting styles here. One team thinks, you got one side, Merril, that thinks Air Force, how slow they are. If the threes aren't dropping, this is going to be blowout central. And you've got another group that are like, oh, hell no, New Mexico, even in the pit, ain't going to win by 12.5 in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, by the way, on the Gold Rush real fast, William & Mary does that every year, and it's next Saturday. They play Delaware for the Gold Rush game. They give out the T-shirts, and it is an interesting handicapping angle that I've used. But when you're playing a better team like Siena is against Iona, I think you have to dumb it down a little bit because it's a big game for Iona. But that's very interesting that they're calling it Gold Rush because a week from this Saturday will be the Gold Rush game for William & Mary. So I guess some other schools do it as well. Air Force New Mexico. We talked about the New Mexico team about a week ago when I was here on the show. I think you mentioned, Joe, they were the last undefeated team in college basketball until recently, but now they've lost 3 of their last 7, I guess. I think they're 4-3 over the last 7 after starting the season undefeated at 14-0. And if you look over at the least in the KenPom rankings, this isn't one of the best teams in the country. They're currently 43rd in KenPom. And what definitely jumps out to you is the pace. 22nd fastest tempo. And you mentioned it. Air Force does not play that way. They're not built to play that way. They're 345th. So this is one of those games that makes my short list instantly every week when I'm scanning the card. Is that a huge difference in tempo? Can Air Force slow down New Mexico? New Mexico does not like to play that way. We'll see if that's the case or not. When these teams met last year, New Mexico is an 8-point favorite, only won by 4 at home. And on the road, they were a 14-point winner as a 1-point favorite. So they did speed up Air Force at home, but slow them down at home. Sped them up on the road, slow them down at home, which is kind of unusual. I'll lean towards the dog here, Air Force. I'd like slow down teams against fast tempo teams. I'm afraid this game could get away from it. It's one of these games you might want to bet in game because if it's close, pull the trigger with Air Force maybe in the second half. But if they get down big, it's kind of like an option team in football. They can't catch up. So I'd actually wait till the end game, see how it's playing out in the second half. If it's close, then play Air Force.
All right. That's actually not a bad way to approach this game. Dwayne, Bryant, how about you? It feels like an awful lot to ask New Mexico to win by here. Are you confident they can do it?
I don't know what the hell's going on this week, Joe, but it seems like every show I'm on, I'm opposite everybody on every damn game. So I might as well go all in here, and I'm just going to, like I said, I didn't bet anything, but I was leaning New Mexico, and I don't love it, but, for the sake of the show, I was going to say lay it. Again, Steve mentioned it's a contrast in styles. Air Force, one of the slowest paced teams in the country. New Mexico, one of the fastest. So if you believe the home team generally dictates the pace, well, then you're going to expect a quick pace in this game. And if you're someone that believes the better team usually dictates the pace, again, New Mexico, it would be a quicker paced game. Just looking at Air Force, and Joe, you mentioned it, 37% of their in conference play have come via the three-pointer. That's number 1 in the Mountain West. I'm personally not a fan of college road teams that rely that heavily on the three-pointer. And it's even more problematic here where the New Mexico team that's ranking number 1 in the conference in three-point percentage defense. So what you do need on the road is a solid defense, and Air Force is in trouble in that regard also. They rank second last in the conference in defensive efficiency. So I'm looking at New Mexico here, and the Air Force's only other conference road game against what I consider top competition. They lost by 16 points at San Diego State in late December. They're coming off a 30-point road loss at San Jose State on Tuesday, and San Jose State is another team that plays a similarly slow pace. So now you're asking Air Force to not only step up in class, but they've got to face an opponent that's going to really try to push the pace here and take them out of their comfort zone. My only concern with the Lobos here is that since last Friday, they've played 3 overtimes, including 2 on Monday at Nevada. So there's a potential fatigue factor here, but I still say if you're going to play it, lay it.
That's a great point too, man. With the OTs, it feels like they've been playing OTs for about a month now. It's interesting there. I do have a message. Our boy, our producer Robert here, Tony Finn.
Yes, what's happening?
Rob Vino apparently is sending us, letting us know, wants to talk some shot quality data. And apparently, the shot quality numbers only have this game as about an 8-point difference. It seems to be a lot of value there, 12.5. What do you think here?
Well, I think if it came from Vino, then we know, it depends how long he's been aging those stats. But I'm sure it's pretty good stuff, right? Nevada, Boise State. And we did talk about this, Steve and Joe. We talked a little bit about New Mexico, and they want to play fast. Nevada doesn't play very fast. They play at a medium pace, or they play slow. Boise plays at about a medium pace, but they're defensively elite. Let's go back to New Mexico. When they did lose their first game of the season, it was Fresno State. Where does Fresno State rank in pace, et cetera, 333rd, according to KenPom, which is pretty similar to what they're going to face with Air Force. I will say this: Fresno, I think, is a little better team. Air Force is a middling team. They don't shoot the ball very well. They shoot the ball for a high percentage, but we all know what kind of shots that they're looking to take. Layups, right? Backdoor layups, right? We're in Princeton kind of style offense. A slow-paced game that is at the pit. I think Dwayne said it best: if you're the better team, you're supposed to dictate pace, especially when you're at one of the toughest places to win in college basketball, Pitt. I can't lay that many points, Joe, but if you put a gun to my head, I would be playing on New Mexico with a pretty steep money line. I'm guessing right around 1,000 or so.
Wow.
1,000.
All right.
Yeah.
See, there we go. Listen, I think this is it may be interesting for a short period of time. But we'll see what this game ends up with late in the pit. It is one of the top 10 hardest places to play. That is a home court advantage. We'll see if they can take advantage of it here tonight.